Good morning. Welcome on this rainy day. Ni hao, and welcome to Villanova. It's good to have everyone here, especially our guests from China. Yes, my title is Do We Have to Always Get Along? And I've been sort of surprised at the response of people to, oh my gosh, that sounds really interesting. Because I think it's one of those topics that we should be digging into. In a training session in a large organization that was doing business in China, a couple of people from the U.S. organization came to me and wanted to know how to handle a situation in which their Chinese counterpart got angry, threw up some papers, and stormed out, right? And they wanted to know what was the mistake that they made, the cultural faux pas that they had done that had caused this, and culturally how it is they were supposed to repair the mistake. It seemed to be a revelation to them when I pointed out that there are ill-tempered people in every culture, and that we can try to communicate the best we can across cultures, but it is not always failure to communicate effectively across cultures that causes conflicts or resolves them. Similarly, if you've seen Joy Luck Club, there is the classic conflict between the little girl, Ashley, and her mother over whose success the little girl's chess playing is. The mother shows off Ashley's pictures to her friends, proud of her daughter's success. Ashley snipes at her mother, claiming her own success, and runs off. A conflict ensues. Conflict ensues. The mother gives Ashley the silent treatment. And much of the movie is about the conflict and inability of the daughter and the mother to get along. The clip is often used to illustrate clashes of culture between, American culture and Chinese culture. But the question I often ask my students is it culture or personality that causes the conflict between the daughter and the mother? And where is the line in between those? In a third and more awful case, we've seen recently in the news the charge that soldiers in Afghanistan were allegedly told to ignore the physical abuse of boys that they could hear behind them because it was the business of the people in Afghanistan. I spoke with someone whose brother was trained in a special unit in the military to deal specifically with physical abuse of women in Afghanistan. Other soldiers were instructed to not get involved. Those trained in the special units were the only ones who were to get involved in these situations because they were trained specifically to manage them. So, when is perceived bad behavior cultural misunderstanding, and when is it just bad behavior? Is passive-aggressive behavior, silent treatment, undermining another, a dominating or avoiding conflict style? Does it preserve external harmony but create inner turmoil? Is this better, worse, or just different than creating external turmoil, such as an argument, while trying to restore inner emotional harmony with another person? Recently, I took on a project of examining the development of research on conflict, culture, and communication with the goal of understanding what was going on around 50 years ago. I started by looking for any journals that addressed issues of culture, conflict, and communication, or peace as the other side of conflict. Next, I looked at journals that were published in any time between 1950 and 1979. Finally, I narrowed down the journals to ISI, to impact factor journals, which brought the number of journals down to 5. 5 ISI journals that addressed in some way issues of culture, conflict, and communication between 1950 and 1979.
The contact is broken. See? My sound. The contact is broken. And the less technology people have a problem. See?
We'll give it a moment.
Right. So, transfer your PPT to me. Thank you. You want to use this too?
No,
Okay.
I'll go without it. Thanks. Thank you. So we're all set? Good.
All set.
problem.
We deal with this afterwards. Please continue, Dr.
Yes.
没关系。Okay. So after finding the 5 journals, I looked for articles across these journals that specifically addressed some combination of culture, conflict, and communication. So this process began by reviewing all the articles published between 1950 and 1979 in the following journals: Journal of Conflict Resolution, Journal of Cross-Cultural Psychology, Journal of Communication, Human Communication Research, and Communication Monographs, which used to be called Speech Monographs until 1976. Although the search began by looking for culture and conflict articles, soon it became evident that this net was far too narrow. So the search was broadened to anything related to culture that could somehow be related to conflict, such as perceptions of trustworthiness, challenges with adjustment of one group with another, Latin American nonverbal styles, and also any study related to negotiation or interpersonal conflict, such as uses of threats and persuasion, studies of game theory, conflicts between children, and any study that related culture and conflict, even broadly, but limiting the focus on interpersonal or group communication rather than international or mass communication. A few trends became evident through this process. Over the 3 decades of the 1950s through the 1970s, there was very little research on culture or on conflict, except for very few articles on one or the other in any of the communication journals, until about the mid-1960s. In the late 1960s and growing through the 1970s, research began to emerge in the communication journals on culture, on conflict, or on culture and conflict. Most of this research was in human communication research and in communication monographs, with very few studies found in communication research or Journal of Communication. Similarly, in the Journal of Cross-Cultural Psychology, which started publishing in 1970, there's quite a bit of culture, as one might expect, but very little on the effect of culture on conflict. The Journal of Communication and Communication Research, to the extent that they addressed culture and conflict, published articles that mostly addressed conflict at the international level, looking at international conflicts or how broadcasting, news, or media transfer across national boundaries, rather than articles that examine culture and conflict at the interpersonal or group level. Speech monographs, before being renamed communication monographs, largely focused on performance and rhetorical approaches to communication. Yet there were still more articles on culture or conflict, or culture and conflict together, in communication monographs than in Journal of Communication or Communication Research. Okay, this is all a lot of background, I know, but it gives a context for the communication scholars for following where these are going. The journal that addressed culture and conflict the earliest and most frequently was the Journal of Conflict Resolution. Although this journal was and is mostly associated with political science and international relations research, and therefore publishes articles that address conflicts on the international scale, this journal devoted whole issues to culture and interpersonal conflict. The list of authors publishing in this journal in its early years is impressive. Morton Deutsch, Dan Druckmann, Kenneth Boulding, Tom Schelling, David Singer, and such great names, other such great names in conflict research. Looking back on the wealth of research in the early stages of conflict, it becomes evident that great ideas were developing, influenced by some of the great minds in conflict research. And this is where the challenge for future directions of conflict research comes from. The heuristic value of the research in the Journal of Conflict Resolution stands out. Articles in the 1950s and 60s on game theory, on cooperative and competitive goals, on integrative and distributive bargaining, set directions that we know have resulted in large bodies of research. One of the major assumptions in research on conflict and negotiation is that people don't get along. Sometimes because their goals are set too high, sometimes because of their understanding of the issues they are conflicting over, and sometimes due to personality, that someone is prone toward cooperation or competition. Yet when the research about cross-cultural or intercultural or simply intracultural communication is examined during this period, there's very little research on conflict, and very few ideas have developed into great ideas or into large bodies of research in the same way as the conflict literature has produced. Perhaps this void of great thinking about culture is why Hofstede's dichotomies, published originally in 1980, have been used so widely. Without the theoretical building blocks to work from, research about culture and conflict has not had the same heuristic directions that conflict research on its own has had. That said, what does become evident as studies of culture began to emerge in the 1960s and 70s, and studies of culture and conflict together begin to increase during the same time, is that the emphasis is on how culture may change perceptions, lead to misunderstanding, result in different processes used to make decisions or affecting persuasion. Although conflict-related studies have increased, studies about deception, the use of threats, verbal aggression, damage to trustworthiness, these are not the focus of culture and conflict studies. Instead, when culture and conflict are studied together, the emphasis is on misperceptions, misinterpretations, and other mistakes in the communication process that could result in conflict, and if repaired, could smooth communication between people from different cultures. Consider, for example, how much emphasis there is in intercultural communication on intercultural competence. Cross-cultural or intercultural communication and psychological research in the social sciences is often criticized for emphasizing differences, but there are a number of reasons that differences are useful for this type of research, especially given the goals of the research. One reason differences are useful is simply because they make good comparisons. Differences result in useful research designs. In a simple comparison of cultures, a 2x2 design includes two cultures and two different levels of another construct. But also, if the goal of cross-cultural research is to figure out what doesn't work so that it can be repaired, then understanding what the differences are between how people think and act across cultures can provide perspectives about what to fix or how to adjust our own thinking when interacting or working with someone from another culture. But this approach to studying conflict across cultures reinforces a bias that can also result in frustration and unrealistic expectations about working with people from different cultures. If we expect that with the right knowledge of the variations across culture, we should be able to work well with people from different cultures, then we may also be dismayed when things don't go so well. Unmet expectations that the communication process should go well, or that with some adjustments we can always find the necessary common ground, can leave individuals frustrated when working in a particular culture, finding that their best efforts are still unsuccessful. Although the cause may be inability to communicate effectively across cultures, there's another possibility that it too is often overlooked, that the individuals we are working with are difficult to work with. When working in our own organizations, within our own cultures, it is not uncommon to find that there are people who are difficult to work with. I see some of you nodding. Don't point anybody out. People may be aggressive or passive-aggressive, deceptive, power-hungry, abrasive, or any one of many other negative traits or behaviors that make it very difficult to work with individuals. Yet the underlying goal in most cross-cultural research is to figure out how we can get along with people across cultures. But what if some people within one's own culture or across cultures are just very difficult to work with? What if the telltale signs that someone is going to be a problematic personality differ across cultures? And what if the way we manage conflicts with difficult people is also not the same across cultures? How do we sort out what is cultural misperception and what is bad behavior? And if it is bad behavior, that's exactly when we need to know when and how to manage the influence of culture on communication. What is the most appropriate and effective way to handle someone's bad behavior? Or, if across cultures, are we resigned to letting the bad behavior pass, letting someone else deal with it or giving it into our own ethical and moral standards for how people can treat each other just to get along. In an article by Sandy Smith and Steve Wilson about new directions for interpersonal communication just a couple of years ago, they noted the shift in the past 2 decades in interpersonal communication, quote, away from seemingly positive topics such as authenticity, intimacy, and openness that pervaded the early interpersonal communication landscape, to also examine dysfunctional and ethically questionable practices such as bullying, deception, hurtful messages, infidelity, stalking, and physical, sexual, verbal aggression, topics that have garnered a great deal of research attention in the past 2 decades, unquote. On the one hand, with all the violence and acts of hate going on in the news that involve cultures and cultural judgments, I'm a bit hesitant to suggest that we should not always focus on getting along. That said, those who know the influence of culture on communication the best are exactly the ones who should be addressing the darker side to communicating across cultures. I tell my students there are wonderful people in every culture. There are mean, nasty, greedy, and even rotten people in every culture. We need to know when culture ends, where personality overrides cultures, and how to appropriately read, respond, and manage people behaving badly, especially across cultures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tsai. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Our next presentation will be by Dr. Fang, and this is entitled The Core Socialist Values.
有 PPT 吧？
没有没有，
就坐着
坐着讲的。
我坐在。
Do you want me to move?
Okay, it's okay. Sit here. Easy. Thank you. And Dr. Fang and Dr. Liu, because they could not speak English, and they sent an email saying that they just submit the paper, and that's as miscommunicated here. I thought they gave a paper. So today I come here to just do a little bit of translation for them. And for one thing, I really thank you for here. We all thank you, everybody here already. I want to thank you to my students. They did all the translation for all the paper given by the Chinese scholars. They did a teamwork, like work very well, and that's the make it possible today for the even Chinese people cannot speak English, they still can give a paper. In the future, I think that will be something we think about. Our students can do something here. And now, Dr. Fang gave the paper is talk about the socialist value, and Dr. Liu, he's supposed to give the paper. He gave the paper about the human rights between China and American, but for any reason, I cannot speak here. He cannot talk, and so Dr. Liu just sit here to listen to us, but you can read his paper. He cannot speak here. But Dr. Fang will talk about in Chinese, and I just translate sentence by sentence and to the audience. And I hope you will ask some questions. I think some of the students, they did the translation. They will ask some questions during their process. Okay. Thank you very much. You can start.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Fang Donghua. I'm from Shanghai Academy of Social Science. My subject is Chinese philosophy and culture, but I speak English too bad. So I speak Chinese. Let Professor Zhou translation. 我的题目是社会主义核心价值观，后面要加上一个以中国现代文明的建构。
My topic is the core socialist value and the building of China's modern civilization. My focus is on the Chinese modern civilization.
社会主义核心价值观是当下中国最热门的一个话题。
Now, what is Chinese socialist value is a present hottest topic in China.
我个人认为，它不仅仅是要讲一些阐述一些中国现在的那个文化软实力， 而应该是最后应该指向中国现代的文明。
It's not just 再说一阐释中国的什么？
不是阐释中国的文化染色力。
Okay, now there is a soft Chinese soft culture and force here. Also, is the future, the direct future Chinese direction.
就像我们那个古代哲学家说的，他说一个是为天地立心，为生民立命，为往圣继节学，为万世开太平。
Okay, he said like the old Chinese said, to ordain consciousness for heaven and earth, to secure life and fortune for the people, and to continue lost learning from past sage, and to establish peace for all future generations.
如果我们从大的历史格局来看，或者说比较深的思想视野来考察，那么古代中国的文明的价值核心早就有了，大概有2000多年的历史。
From a big historical perspective, and we see Chinese in the ancient time, we already have the idea about what is value in Chinese culture.
那就是比如说仁义礼智信啊、礼义廉耻啊等等儒家思想，成为我们思想的核心。
Yes, like Confucius' idea about benevolence, righteousness, and courtesy, and wisdom, and integrity. That's a Confucius' value is already exist.
但是呢，我们中国文明和西方文明不一样，我们不是以宗教为这个根源的。
And Chinese civilization is different from Western civilization. Our civilization is not based on the religion oriented.
我们可以说是儒家伦理成就了中国人的那个精神世界和那个社会的伦理。
Confucianism and truly and saved the Chinese the value about human right.
所以呢，我们有很多那个现代的哲学家就认为，有的呢认为是我们是以儒学代替宗教。
And the Chinese modern and philosophy believe Chinese and use ethic oriented value instead of the religion oriented value.
也有人认为是我们是以伦理为本位的社会。
We are the society and based on the ethics, not religion.
但是5世以后呢，儒家这种传统呢受到了空前的打击。
Yes, since the May 4th movement in 1919, and Confucianism value and was in disaster.
就像一位美国学者叫艾凯讲的，他说，那个儒学成了历史博物馆的陈列品。
Okay, like a very famous Eikai, the American scholar said, Confucianism become the item in the Chinese museum.
但是新中国建立以后呢，我们的核心价值观又重新提出来了，那就是为人民服务、大公无私，一直到斗士必修。
And since People's Republic of China established, we have built up the new value. It's like a serves for the people, and 为人民服务还有什么？
大公无私。
Oh, we have a selfless and
最后到斗士必修。
斗士必修 this 就是 criticize yourself and 斗士必修 very difficult cultural evolution words like criticize yourself and you criticize any and reformism from a Soviet Union.
可以说是旧的价值观断裂以后，新的价值观也轰然倒塌。
Now, the older value is gone, and the new and the value is also is fall apart.
30多年改革开放以后，我们很荣幸，中国人开始了一种新的经济的腾飞。
And only in 30 years, the Chinese started to open up to the world. Chinese economic has a big change.
我认为我们是用一个时代完成了西方差不多300-400年这样一个历程。我们一个时代就是中国人讲30年。
Okay, we use one generation. Chinese one generation is 30 years. We finished all the process for the whole Western society for 100 years.
所以我们这一代人很骄傲，因为我们一个人西方人如果要活了差不多400年，然后在我们一代人就经过这样一个天翻地覆的变化，西方400年才能经历这个样一个现代化的过程。
Okay, our generation is very proud. In 30 years, we fulfilled the goal, and the Western society have to work on 400 years.
比较有意思的是，因为我们走的这个道路是和西方的现代化道路是不完全一样的这样一个道路。
We pass the road is not totally the same as the Western society.
所以说，我们这样一个历史发展的过程，是不是会展现出和西方不一样的文明？
So I'm questions here. May we have a different civilization from the Western society?
我想这是我们要考虑的一个很重大的问题，就是在经济腾飞的时候，我们其实也失去了很多。
Yes, we also have a serious considered one questions here. And our economic and developed very fast, but we lost a lot of things during the development too.
其中既有生态方面的破坏，也有精神方面的迷失。
Also, we have environment issues here, and also we lost a lot of ethics value too.
所以呢，我们现在讲经济，我们进入了新的常态。然后我们在这个文明方面或者价值观方面，我们也开始在重新建构。
And Chinese economics studied and go to the normal way, and also we are thinking about reconstructed our value of the spirit.
因为我们觉得这个两个方面都非常困难，这不仅仅是关系到中国未来的前程，而且是关系到我们这样走向何方。
Yeah, this is both a very difficult task for us, because it's not just related to what we're going to do, also related to in the future what direction we are faced to.
我们现在中国提出富强、民主、文明、和谐，这等等等等，就是差不多12个词的那个核心价值体。富强、民主。
Okay, now we have a slogan for the purpose and democracy and the civilization and the harmony. The 12 Chinese characters is as the country's slogan.
我认为这方面包含了3方面的意思。
They're including 3 and meanings.
首先是我们中华文明自己的传统。
It's first is our Chinese traditional and the value.
然后我们真的要感恩现代西方的文明。
We're very grateful for the Western society, the civilization impact and give a big influence on China.
因为中国的现代化之路吸取了现代很多西方文明的优秀的成果。
And the Chinese modernization observed a lot of and good value from Western societies.
特别是美国这样一些在很多方面给我们很多的启发。
And especially American give us a lot of ideas.
当然，我们还有自己更高大的理想，这个理想就是马克思主义。
And of course, we have a higher and ideals. That is Marxism.
因为马克思追求的是人类的自由与解放。
And we say that as a human and freedom and liberty. That is a last goal for Marxism too.
这就是我们想建构的中国的现代的文明。
That's we want to construct the Chinese modern and civilization.
谢谢。
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, as you heard, Dr. Lucia, his presentation is available for reading. He will not be making the presentation. So these are our 2 presenters for this morning. So I would like to open the floor up for questions, comments, and any kind of interactive interaction. How is that for being redundant? That we may have with our panelists this morning. The floor is open to you.
I have a question for Dr. Cai. So you have really discussed a very interesting phenomenon, the fact that there are always good people in different cultures and there are always mean people in different cultures. So I was wondering, facing that situation, would you suggest that we focus less on the relational aspect of an interaction and instead focus more on the kind of tasks or
Actually, no. I think we've actually focused quite a bit in negotiation on goals and argument and outcomes, right? But the assumption is that we have somehow a shared outcome of wanting to come to an agreement, and therefore there may be some cultural interpretations that create barriers, and if we can't reach an outcome, it's because either our interests are different or just we're not understanding each other. But I would say that instead, it's more of a call to understanding relational aspects as well, that it's very much relationship, that in relationships there are bullies, there are people who take advantage of people. Again, is passive aggressive behavior, is that a must, or is that just bad behavior? Is that something that works within a culture, or is that something that is always detrimental? Are there common threads that run across cultures that are just bad behaviors, and then are they enacted differently in the different cultures so that our response to what is effective in managing them changes? So if somebody's passive aggressive, my approach might be, a good American one. Let's confront the person. Why are we doing this? But that may be exactly the wrong kind of response in another culture, such as Chinese culture. If somebody's passive aggressive, the wrong thing to do is go, "Why are you doing this?" Right? That would be the wrong response. So how do we manage a passive aggressive behavior? Which, is it bad? And if so, what are the different responses to it? Very relational.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Comments?
I'll ask, this question is directed toward Dr. Fang. I'll ask it in English first, and then I'll ask it in Chinese. My question is, when you take China's socialism put in other East Asian countries, such as Japan, Taiwan especially, or Korea, what do you think the reaction would be? In Chinese, 如果你放中国的社会主义在别的中国国家不是中国国家，在别的
亚洲
国家，你想这会怎么样表现？像台湾、日本、韩国。
再说一次。
哦，不好意思。
没有问题。
如果你放中国的社会主义在别的亚洲国家，你想这社会主义会怎么样表现在这些国家？
就是说，如果你这个社会主义价值观在其他亚洲国家能不能体现？如 possible 就是假设吧。
这个是一个很有兴趣的问题啊。
Very interesting question.
因为可能很多人认为，亚洲的价值观也是非常不一样的。比如说那个日本，那个台湾地区是吧？还有包括韩国。最有意思的是，
好的 ，it's a socialist value and it's different from the in other Asian countries, Japan and Korea.
最有意思的，我记得是有一次，日本首相安倍到韩国去，说我们的价值观是一样的，但是你知道他们两个国家矛盾是很深的，是吧
？Yes, in the one time, and like a prime minister of Japan went to Korea, he said we have the same value, and but they are totally different.
但是这次那个韩国的总统去到中国来参加大阅兵，我觉得应该韩国跟中国是一起的，是吧？
Yes, and now this time Korea come to socialist countries and like China. I think that moment he hold the same value as Chinese.
但是呢，我觉得所有的价值观里面还是有一些共同的基本的价值观。
So any different countries, we still have some basic value, no matter you're socialist or you matter capitalist.
我们中国现在要建构的价值观，就是基于这样一个共同基础上面，然后再凸显我们自己的社会主义理想这样一些的价值。
Yeah, our value about life, and we base on the common and the value, and then we build up our socialist value. It's different in different way.
用习近平一句话。
And Chairman Xi say that.
这个就跟那个人权一样，就是价值观没有最好的，但是有更好的。
Yes, and just like Xi Jinping said, just like we called about human right, the value is not the best, always better.
所以我们认为我们是往这方面追求。
We always want to have a better civilization, better human rights, and not the best yet.
但是很可惜，日本人却认为他们的价值观好像优于我们，是吧？
Because unfortunately, Japanese always believe their value is higher than Chinese.
所以我是做这个研究的，我是非常希望建构起我们美好的这个价值观。
Is that I'm do such research. I really hope we can build up a very good the value and in the future. Thank you. 好不好？这个问题
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We probably have time for probably one or two more questions, comments?
Comments?
Two more questions or so?
Thank you so much for the talks. I
但
want
是
to
谢谢你的
ask
谈
a
话。
question of
还有你的问题是，
Dr. Signal too. In the translation,
Oh.
translation. So this, I'm interested in a claim here on the first page. It says, undoubtedly, with the booming economy, China also pays a lot, both ecologically and spiritually.
嗯哼，
So
但
I'm
是
wondering what spiritually means.
他
What's
说
been paid?
你们讲的是精神，什么是精神上的东西？你在那个文章里面写到这一句，傲然实力。对，如果你没有宗教的话，他们在美国有 spiritual，就是说宗教上，你们有什么是精神上的东西？
主要是讲伦理道德，还有那个更高远的就是思想。
Okay, he said that we think spiritual is like your ethics, and and mostly he said is a thought.
Okay, I guess what I want to know is what has been lost
你们在当中失去什么东西？
because of the boom of the economy.
但是因为这个经济热潮吧，你
对
们失去了什么东西？
有很多人因为他成为了一个那个大富豪，
嗯哼
对吧？富二代，富三代，然后但是他那个就是在精神，特别在文明上面，他没有追求了，然后就是我们讲是暴发户这样一类，我想在美国也有，是吧？
Yeah, he said that a lot of people just seek after money. Even we produced like a rich second generation, rich third generation. During this process, they lost a lot of things. They only care about the money. I think America have that situation
Sure,
too.
that's we have that problem too.
Yes, 我们也有这样的问题。Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I see hands. Okay, let me take a student
Oh.
hat.
Okay, I also have a question for Mr. Fang, and I'll ask it in English and Chinese as well. So, how does modern Chinese socialism incorporate Confucianist ideas? In Chinese, 中国现代社会主义怎么理解儒家？
中国的社会主义怎样理解儒家？
哦，it is very difficult.
I say the simple question, not you gave the difficult questions.
我认为，因为我们现在建构社会主义，但是很多人会以为我们把传统割裂了，是吧？包括武士的传统。
Is now we are a socialist country. Many people maybe thought we just cut out of the tradition, and also we maybe forgot our the May 4th and the spirit.
今天有一个很奇怪的，就全球化下面，其实大家的生活方式是比较一致的，是吧？
And he says very strange things. Maybe you notice that even the globalization, we have the very similar and the value about the life, like a basic life.
但是每个文明文化的根是不一样的，
Each roots of the civilization and the culture is different.
所以我们在我们生命里面流淌的血脉还是儒家的。
So in Chinese, we still in our blood we are still Confucianism.
我们讲仁义礼智信，现在社会无论怎样生活方式改变，这个还是不变。
The Chinese, we just mentioned about and the Confucius and the basic value is about like benevolence, integrity, and so those things we still in life in the Chinese society.
比如说，尊敬父母，友爱兄弟，
For example, you respect your parents and you love you get along with your brothers,
对朋友要讲义气，
and you have a reach out to your friends.
对社会要讲责任担当，
and you take a responsibility to the society.
这个就是我们的文化文明的根。
That is the roots of the civilization and the tradition. Thank you. 谢谢你。
Thank you. We can probably take one last question. I think I saw your hand up.
If any students want to ask, I can defer, I can ask him later.
Do any of our
I
students
saw
have
another
a,
hand.
No
students
student,
have a
that's it.
question?
Okay.
Okay.
Just a follow-up to Dr. Dorley's question for Dr. Fang. Yeah, you mentioned in terms of spirituality that it comes from ethics and morality, but where do those values come from for the Chinese?
他说你谈到你的精神是从你的道德和这些观念过来，你们到底是这个是怎么来体现？就说这个精神方
You're
面的
basing
东
it
西
on。ethics, you say, but
但是
where does
你
that-
说你基础是你们的，就是我们的道德观，但是在他们认为精神上的东西跟道德是那个非常密切的关系。
是这样的，中国文明或者说中国文化和西方是不一样的。我刚才讲的就是一个是以宗教为根基的，是吧？一个是以儒家伦理和道德为根基的。我们的文明认为就是也有各种不一样的派别，但是主要的我们是认为人性是善的。
And he said just like he talked, and the Chinese is a ethic oriented and value society. It's different from a religion and oriented society. Our idea is no matter what we still have a different people think in different things, but the basic value for Chinese is we believe human being was born good.
所以呢，西方文明是认为人性是恶的。
But he says Western society believe human being was born and guilty.
我说的是主要的传统。
It is just a main tradition. It's not for everybody.
所以呢
And, Chinese believe and the human being was born good, and Western society believe human being was born guilty. We feel guilty, sin. We think sin.
所以呢，中国人儒家认为只要你把你人的方面展现出来就可以了 ，OK 了。
Confucianism believe as long as you and show your humanities, that society will be good.
当然也有儒家的不同派别，他认为人性是恶的，也有的，比如说
Of
荀
course,
子。
荀子. For example, a Chinese very famous and Confucianist Xun Zi, also he is believe human being was born evil or bad. Different groups too.
他认为你善是伪装的。
He believe and good things is hypocritic. Human being could not be was born as good.
所以他提出了一个理的观念，就人以礼智信的礼，要来规范你的恶的行为。
So that's why he think righteousness. That is very important for the Chinese. Use that way to make you go to formal and a normal way to get rid of the evil and build up the good things.
所以你就会从善。
Then you will become a good people.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to give a hand to all of our participants.